when a nation does not recognize to a person civil rights, offense number one. What kind of nation that is? What is this situation? That is how you declare protocol nuclear weapon or a weapon at all. You call this atomic bomb or power plant. Because I started this as a planetary protocol, I prevent it to be used as a atomic bomb. Because I saw this as I saw the planetary problems, and I set this as a matter of political reform, planetary political reform of the entire financial system, and so on and so on. It has become power plant. This is going directly to question the Tesla protocol and his energy protocol accordingly. Serbia and USA of America to discuss Tesla protocol when it comes to human rights and historic heritage, and we have obviously here conflict, historic heritage, power plant protocol. Serbia and USA of America to explain this situation. That is point one. Point two, religions themselves to explain this situation. Point number three, historic heritage houses and regulative around historic heritage houses to explain this situation. This is legal work. These are going to be three main aspects of the event itself, rather than what event discusses. This is about the constitution of the event itself. The above mentioned institutions are to elaborate on their behavior. Earthians deliver. Earthians, you will never have a nation if your leading temples become power plants, not yours, but to the entire planet or to some other nations that would have chance with capital approach or military approach to get your temples and declare them power plants that can be owned by international capital. You know how it goes with economic language. The power plants can be, its energy source can be owned by international capital. What that means, Earthians? It means that your leader can be owned by international capital. And your leaders can be traded on the market. Earthians, it is time to act. This is therefore going directly to military industry. In this case scenario, I would say of USA initial, and then Yugoslavia second point. It would be associated to the energy protocol associated with Tesla protocol, therefore, again, America and Yugoslavia, or Serbia in this case scenario. It will be also associated to Jewish concept of and Palestinian or Jesus bloodline related energetic protocol of not energetic but financial protocol associated with Jesus bloodline. It will automatically catch all of the religions here. It will catch all of the monarchies, and it will catch all of the governments. We have found the very top of the planet engaged in hunting historic heritage houses, the top political leadership houses, engaging in activity of international trade and international manipulation of that particular function, which is top political leadership and top political philosophical conceptual thinking. The top of the pyramid has been cut out and found in complete control of circles that have imposed themselves rather as the beginning of everything, of the entire legal system and political authority itself, without the actual authorities. Therefore, it connects, as you will notice, directly to the concept of masonry and what symbol masonries have been using when it comes to political leadership on the top of the levels. Secret society of men or society of men included. I am not going to call it collapse of civilization, because that would be complimenting these idiots too. I have said I hold this planet. No, I'm not going to give them that much of a complimenting. Therefore, to remind again, the principal responsibilities here fall first to biblical protocol itself, where that will found in the center here, Israel and Palestine. Although I wouldn't exclude India and Buddhism altogether. That is, it is associated immediately to religious protocol itself. Next to that, it would be recognized financial industry via protocol, Jesus bloodline implemented directly as the most comprehensive approach in association with religion directly. Next center of responsibility is the political protocol, the governments themselves that are completely in service to such a manipulation of concept of historic heritage houses, which in this case scenario become power plants, all supported profoundly by governments. Next aspect would be the military compound, military industry itself, that found conveniently categorizing as highest historic heritages in category properties, therefore in category of weapons. Either weapons that is all the way to atomic bomb, from tanks, tanks, to various the names. Notice how they're naming the tanks. Notice how they're naming the planes. Notice how they're naming the weapons in general. Notice how they're naming the atomic bombs. Next is the energy protocol itself. Energy protocol Tesla protocol that become very much in fashion now, which is based on energy concept and manipulation of energy to the extent that human is made out of energy. Tesla protocol. Kolegi and koleški, drugari I drugarki, can you elaborate on this place? The point of usability as a puppy land or a poppy land in promise to you, the investors. Drugarki I drugari, can you elaborate on this place without hiding in Buddhism? Oh, that also translates into Buddhism. Serbia, can you elaborate on this place as well? It seems we have third kind as well. The one that actually delivers. Serbia, can you elaborate on this? However, speaking of civilization, will bring on surface kindness and civil behavior and civil attitude. And there is a reason why I noticed something in monarchy of England that I found sufficiently as a driver to what I want to do next. Of course, complete revision of everything accomplished so far and in the way how it has been accomplished, without yet being ready to give up on the hierarchical orders themselves and on the positions of families in the societies. For what I was thinking, you don't need to kill them just because you find them wrongly positioned in on some kind of historic grounds of the actual fabric of development. You don't kill the highest because you find it not developing properly, but then you want to continue to speak about the history and you continue to speak about the development as you have delivered it just in one generation or two, as what happened with working class winning the stage in last century, and continue to speak history and continuing to speak civilization as nothing really happened. Although they just carnaged two-thirds of actual civilizational development and the one that have been actually delivering it. So I thought there is something profoundly wrong in the way how that has been conducted in last century, and I wanted to reconcile it differently. I wanted to notice the kindness and the civilization and to say then, this is where we are, this is what we have accomplished, and then let's see what's not good here so far, so we can improve, we can talk, we can negotiate, we can work it out together, because this is not only yours, this is of us. We have reached here and all of this together. We have reached this civilization together. It's not only yours to get it in a pocket and run away with it like a bad boys. And what I got, of course, I was aware that the play is going to happen, and I really fear that monarchy is going to lose it in the process, because they will start climbing upon it. And they will prevent me to reach that point from where I can say, from here I continue, or because it suits me the best for what I want to do today. I need my working place. I need someone to take care of the administration and that. I'm matching kind of the setting. I mean, can you notice I'm kind of matching it? So I thought, isn't it not going to be a practical solution that I just get nicely assessed it and I deliver this work and no one gets hurt. But no, that was not good enough. I just wonder for whom on earth that was not good enough. Can we explain today to this world for whom that was not good enough? Well, I can imagine it would have been problem up to the families itself immediately as well. I saw that being a mother, I knew what was going to mean, what means to be mother, and that for Elizabeth is always going to be her Charles. And I didn't know what I'm supposed to do with it when I am here, well, all the time interested, apart of course being a mother to my kids, is that I need to deliver this work like a chicken nesting, about to nest the next egg. I didn't have time to negotiate about the meaning of kids in our lives, which is nothing that any mother can really negotiate too much about. And it has become impossible to move from that point onwards. We simply stuck on that. I stuck on that as a mother. And then as much as it became also evident the protocol itself does have its weak spots. And it also become a territorial question. Also become a question of, anyway, what on earth I'm doing here? Is that even what I want, or is that what I'm supposed to do anyway? Because I'm bringing today the discussion on the level of earth, not on the level of nation. That is the history that does have its kind of a historic reference. I want to bring it as earth, isn't it? Not that I'm actually talking of the United Nations. Rather, I talk about the personal code. Am I not supposed to bring it on actual temple platform of which I am extracting this temple dimension? And it never was that much of a clear answer from my side as well, what actually I really need to do here and how far I need really to push in that direction where my situation is actually different. It's not that I'm actually born in England, and this is not classic fight for a throne exactly of England. This is bringing in substance different kind of dimension, and it is question how much one can push it, knock on a door that you actually don't recognize actually as a door to the work you deliver, which is rather United Nations door. And then questioning also the position of United Nations in USA, which is not exactly the matrix of United Nations. And finally recognizing Olympian with such a relief, finally one can find find herself orbiting and at more some kind of correct coordinates, geographic coordinates, especially in respect to the work I deliver, but also the genetic code I deliver here, which of course is not just my game. At that point it becomes game of the history itself and of the territories themselves. Maybe it would have been solvable in England as well, but I think that there was not enough of energy for it. This was a high jump, and it required that much of attitude and willingness to do something like that. If we are going to speak of England, I'm not convinced the present days that they are willing to get out of their comfort zone, and certainly they're, especially when you become highly supported, to remain exactly where you are and continue to be rewarded for it. It's very hard to get out of that vicious cycle. So I don't know how hard it is for the nation at all as well, and for that is for Western civilization altogether, which continue to be troubled in so many ways today, where this happen more like luxury question than they're at the level of survivor today, and this continues to be not exactly the first question they need to be bothered, since they have that much of financial issues, and this is going on anyway. So that would be position of England, of Europe in all of this, obviously. Not urged at all by it, one can say. Rather indulged in preference. And there we are today speaking about exploitation of resources, because it is the easiest subject, and it is in delivering straightforward service without someone to be bothered to answer all of these heavy organizational questions, as since when human is that much to be bothered with organization anyway? And then at some later point we wonder why we are losing it. Or you're losing it because you're not attending it, because you're at the survival mode. And we have not been building humanity for a plate of food, but because out of aspirations and dreams, remember, out of ideals, not out of being hungry. That is why aristocracy to me makes sense. But aristocracy that should never forget where are their aristocrats. Because that is where the dream is. And the ideals that do not sum at the plate of food. Someone not being hungry in that society does matter, because it becomes a driver for this. If everyone is hungry, then you don't have a driver for this. And what I get anyway, I get family Trump now being driver. Is that going to make me happy? Is that going to make happy my kids, Melania Trump, because I have my kids as well? If I cannot be aristocrat, then I'm a damn servant. And so you as well. And so you as well. And I like aristocrats because I don't need to do it for a plate of food. Clear? Now that's not going to answer instantly all of the rest of the questions. As for example, which aristocrats of all of the aristocrats? Serbia? Serbia, which aristocrat of all of the aristocrats? Serbia? Answer that question today. Family? Which aristocrat out of all of the aristocrats? Family? Which one? Europe, how far that this question goes? On and on and on. For how long? For how long, Europe? If there is anything left out of it. So the one that are occupying Europe to answer as well. And what's going to be driver today to this work? Scheherazade? I don't think so. Alibaba? I don't think so. So can you kindly answer this question as well, please? How we are going to define our kind civilization today? How we are going to define our kind civilization today? Can you kindly and in civil manner answer this question, please, Alibaba holders? Or the question is too big for you, you little pups, you little kids, trapped in your little game. I'm just sorry for you. But you have enough money, so I'm not going to be sorry for you. No, you are going to answer this question. Are we going to sum the entire Middle East? Are we going to sum the entire civilizational development into Alibaba protocol? No, why on earth you accepted to play that card on? Then, 21st century, who not accept to play that card in 21st century, that will need to know exactly where it is placed. We're all working for honor today, since it's not being settled yet. So we have to settle it properly before we consider it answered. I wanted to say I noticed civilization, although I don't like how it sounds. I noticed civilization. Of course I noticed it. That is why it was not so easy to go back home. But I have not noticed it enough. And that is where I'm hanging now into nowhere land, equally as with the situation with monarchy of England, similarly on any other level. Like, I have noticed civilization, but it's not there for me. And if it is not there for me, and that's the title of my work, then we all have a problem. Macedonia, be aware, and Greece, be aware of my question of today. We have therefore three kinds. We just identified third kind, Greeks and Macedonians, and that is the one that is actually doing the job. Macedonians and Greeks. Where we are on all of this now, where we need to declare civilization of 21st century, Macedonians and Greeks. And we just discovered the third kind as well. Because I can notice how far you ended up to hold that crown to your head, as there is no reason to ask any additional question. But we just found the third kind, the one that is actually doing it, Macedonians and Greeks. So what we're going to do about that particular event? It's I before it's us, Greeks and Macedonians. It appears to me that you are not that much responding to that particular event. That is when someone is using letter I rather than us. So where here I'm going to find human? Exactly. Well, it has to be where I stand. Also, it might be that I am of the third kind, the one that actually delivers. I still have chosen to bring it on the side of where human is, and confiscate human with all of his mistakes. As human without leadership is just a bunch of sheep anyway, becomes citizenship. Anyway, ultimately, at the end of all of these diversities we have just recognized, prevails a leader with clear view and clear destination, where we are going and what cannot be compromised. The code of human and the code of human civilization today has been explained in details and defended accordingly. Decides on the legal matters as the goddess of absolute justice happen exactly on that particular substance. That is the legal system and legal order, where therefore I start speaking about civilization as a matter of development and criteria of today how we are going to rank authorities or legal authorities for that matter. That is, what is more advanced would obviously bring also more developed sense of what means to be humane or humanitarian. And we for quite some time talk about human rights. Speaking about trading, which today we found nations very much engaged into, I'm going to find that as a profoundly inappropriate to the language of God or language of creation of this planet itself. As what's going on here is aim of certain, very old aim of certain territory, especially Western, to go always to look for something somewhere else, and to think that because they have money now they can go and buy gods or top of the presences from other territories, because they continue to believe they're entitled to have it all. But in substance, that is not how this planet function. First of all, they should be reconnecting and reawakening, that is reconnecting with the actual prime citizens of American soil, and that is Indians of America, American Indians, because these people bring the soul and the senses of the land of America, and they would be in best service to promoting, to bring America on next level, because they will bring, first of all, what is the most important to American soil, and that is agriculture, and then everything else that will be connected to next level of promotion of human. America will need to reconnect to its actual ancestors. That is America being recovered. Europe, on the other side, would have what they need to have for that continent, that is much more heavy, much more intense, much more delicate, much more complex. And they need to have their leaders to deal with the complexity of the environment in which they exist. In such way, they will be less problem to the rest of the continents as well. If you, however, disable continents or leave them headless, then they will ultimately become weight to everyone else as well. And that is not going to be, on a long run, assisting Americans either. Americans should reach for what is theirs, not for what theirs is not. And in that context, any of other territories, therefore, will need to be equally very much concerned about bringing themselves forward, bringing forward the civilization on their territories, therefore reaching that level of interface that's going to allow their regeneration, recapitulation, and reincarnation. But if we all go, if everything ends up as running for profit and running for earnings rather than playing the game of humanity itself, then ultimately we are going to lose humanity. The story of humanity doesn't start with profit making. It starts with living on this planet and realizing yourself while living on the planet. That is being engaged, not not earning profit. It's not about earning profit. It's about being engaged on your own territory, reconnecting to your own territories and to people that live on the territory, belonging to the realm in which you are, not earning money and traveling the world. That's not going to make you citizen of a country. Citizen of a country is going to make you when you actually live in a country and contribute to a country. Integrate with your people. That is how economy happens as well. And that is what is going to make economy. Living on a land with your people and engaging your people with the resources of your land. And if these resources find their call, if they're yours, if they find their call to be somewhere else as well, to attending some other office because they can, because they have rised up to, as Helen Clark went into United Nations, things like that, then that's going to happen as well. But that's not going to be because of earning profit. Because you're reintegrating on different level of consciousness. But humans should be a human on this earth, not some kind of predator. I will argue in that context that what Americans need is mega properties because America is mega territory, and it is foolish to go all the way to Middle East to search for mega properties when you have them under your nose, and that is the actual real native population of America, that is God language, God-given population to America, to match the size of America and to bring the game on levels of American playgrounds. It has been done indirectly using Palestinians, making it almost extinct. Also, they're not that much harsh because they're born in different kind of on different kind of land, and they match that kind of land. It is I'm going to find it is inhumane actually how far this game of displacing resources and expecting results basically ended up to be rather devastation of certain territories to be their own and to exist as their own and make history as of their own on land that it is their own and function as in integrity, in connection with the neighboring territories and make that kind of regional presence. Accordingly, nothing of it to exist in disrespect of territories. Today I have heard on news, we have been during Reagan time, America has been respecting other territories peacefully. But then they continue to spend most of the time about talking of how it is justifiable that they make the mineral deal with Ukrainians. Now that is how far this has not been understood. What means not offending or intruding our territories? What means not using their resources as well? Because in substance it comes to that. If you are using resources of other territories or you think you depend on resources of our territories, first of all, you are upsetting these territories. You are basically dismantling them and you're diluting them, you're disintegrating them on one side. On the other side, you continue to disrespect your own land and what you need on your own land. In a process, no one wins here, and we all together lose, as that is where we have been found today anyway. We are all today losing it. And when it comes to Europe, I don't like two things. The fact that Europe continue to ignore our part, that is Southeastern Europe, and that we certainly have here conflicting line with the fact that they equally as Western world continue to speak of us as a resource, as a land of resources, rather than as integral or integrated part to entire European continent. It is discriminatory, it is underestimating the territories, and also it is drying out, and Europe is assisting Americans and Western and England, Britannia, in drying out our territories, so people there end up to look like more on the dumb side. Well, actually, most prominent one would have been dragged all the way to America or on the west side. And basically, Europe continued to work against drying out its most ancient plateau. I'm going to find that very anti-God and anti-Christ. When you engage yourself to this kind of activities, that is anti-God and anti-Christ, because you're undoing the work of God, and that is resources on the land belong to that land for all of the reasons, because they are being crafted out of that land, and they are going to make in any given time music that's going to be about bringing that land in compilation with their work and bring Mozart level again on the scale of such level of sensation, where you have therefore compliance of the land with the asset, of the land with the energy, with the human energy itself. Human energy playing its own land. There is nothing better and more successful when leaders are playing their own land. And that is benefit of everyone else. For benefit of everyone else. So, it's offensive to find Europe disrespecting its own European continental integrity. It's offensive for Europe. It is making Europe to be poltronic, to be too much submissive, and too much working against its own interests, which continue to be the case. I always feel like I need to constantly look at that kind of scale of events, not to go too much out of line, and in the same time expecting, of course, things to be much more recognized in the real weight of what is wrong here and what's done wrong here on the planet. You can't say, for God's sake, someone, my mother, as some kind of danger to be employed for entire her lifetime in Macedonia because she was too big. What is going on here? You have to have certain percentage of Palestinians naturally going on the European side, or you are not going to allow God language to be God language. You will be speaking Antichrist. But no one will go in Europe if they don't earn the points. First of all, they are not going to be married. If my mother didn't look like Ingrid Bergman, she would not be married. She got married, well then she passed the test. She's bringing beautiful kids. Beauty is an important factor to Europe. Beauty is not there to jump over it, to implement it, to engage it. Beauty is charming, beauty is attractive, beauty opens the doors others cannot. These people are not just beautiful, they are also positive. When it is, then it is. My mother was not just beautiful, she was also kind. Europe needed that. Europe needs kindness. It needs to soften up. If it needs to soften up, then it needs to soften up. If Europe cannot be soft enough, it's not going to be good enough. And so on and so on and so on. That's God language is God language. Allowing territories to integrate when they earn their points is God language. Closing doors, what should open the doors, is Antichrist level. Look at you today, trading resources. You don't know even what on earth you're talking about. What resources you're talking about? Do you know even what on earth you're talking about? Just babbling out there empty talk. But if what comes on the West as a resource become completely erased from their own memory and being implemented on them, the rhetoric and the attitude and the way of thinking of Western civilization, then we don't talk only about takeover, we also talk about erasing the previous. And that is where this entire conversation becomes rather serious for all of the reasons why one conversation should be serious. A child of Ukraine, say on global television, when airplanes start making a noise, I hide under my toys. And it goes like that in English. We talk about cultural, not just takeover, but erasing of the previous as well. And that is what we don't wish for Ukrainian people. And I doubt they would like it for themselves as well. But having their president sold out, it seems Ukraine is aiming for new president as soon as possible, real Ukrainian one. So Europeans, you have your challenge today on real ground. Europeans, you have the real challenge on the ground today. Ukrainians, please, the actual president for Ukrainians. And stop Europeans, stop being such sold out monkeys. It's getting a bit irritating. Europeans, wake up. In context of resources, it would be convenient to today mention also that I have noticed that the protocol empire in general has become very much as some kind of enterprise of certain number of shareholders that have started to think that empire is their investment, which is in substance profoundly wrong initial position, but that is how we find it on the Westlands, understood, and then becomes as enterprise for ongoing supply of benefit and profit for shareholders. That is how empire has been understood on the West side, and since they're the one today surfacing the rest of the civilization, I'm going to assume that is how in generally empire ended to be understood today. In substance, that is very wrong approach in understanding it. In substance, empire is actually managing of and creating of qualitative dimension within the imperial coordinates. It is basically more like a working room, more like a craft room, where you actually create a nation. And we actually create qualitative dimension of the qualitative stamp of the nation. In substance, real empire is that. And it is not about shareholders generating profit. It is about creating a nation. That is traditionally to what any empire would sum. Working with the bloodlines, bringing forward cultures and tribes, and engaging within some kind of larger regional development. To the best of my attempt here to recover the history and recognize that in substance, that is how we understand empire in most classical terms, certainly as a civilization. That means that any of the territories today, especially former imperial territories, will need to allow for themselves certain qualitative ranges, certain identity ranges in which coordinates that empire will be recalibrating. If you bring empire in very narrow identity frameworking, then many of stamps that would be happening on these territories would not realize themselves, would be pushed in the corners, and would be kicked out from the imperial privileged position, or should I say, right to be supported and to be invested into. As for example, if we understand that now entire ancient Macedonia will translate somewhere in America in corridors of Frank Sinatra, we have actually excluded any prospect that we bring any other human dimension within that imperial quadrum as a historic heritage. Now, ancient Macedonia is quite of a spacious region to be that much narrowed in one or two faces sitting somewhere in Hollywood, by the way. It will need to be rather understood within the framework, within the range, within, first of all, framework of certain territorial coordinates, plus amended for ongoing movements of the territories, and recognizing the qualitative dimensions and qualitative stamp marks that would be beneficial to be included within the imperial boundaries. In that context, in that sense, too much of narrow defined empire at identity point will not be seen as a recommended or even correct approach. I also here would enclose Eastern Protocol, where Palestinian influence would be noticed, also where Jewish influence would be noticed, even Turkish presence would be noticed. When you're hunting for, not hunting, but recognizing qualitative dimension, you want to embody it within your empire, not to push it in the corners and to blackmail it and to extort it and to torture it and to suffocate it and to squeeze it and whatever. and to torment it and to blackmail them. It is about inclusive approach within the entire imperial coordinates. What is missing is the understanding of what would be the imperial stamp within the territory as it is ancient Greece and ancient Macedonia, which unavoidably would be incorporating philosophy and philosophers and amphitheaters. And that has not been understood properly in Hollywood, where everything went too much on the entertainment side and translated in American language, and simply we lost not just the history there, but a real definition, real comprehension of what empire should be about, which in substance I will translate it to a civilization. We would be actually talking about civilization here, in substance.